Hey guys, this is Lion of Judah from Thunderhorn server from the Guild 7. This is going to be a hunter trial video for you guys that need some help with rotation, what type of talents to get for the most optimal DPS, glyphs, just a complete overview of the hunter class in general. I mean, I've been playing this class for a very, very long time, so I'm not gonna noob it up and tell you that this is basically something that you should be doing and it's complete crap and it's just going to make you be doing horrible DPS. But let's go ahead, and I can't move this, so we're just going to have to deal with it. Or can I? No, we're just going to have to leave it like that. So if you look at my talents right now, you're going to see, this is, I can't say this is basic cookie cutter, but I mean, usually for survival, for what I play mostly, because I believe it's just better than Beast Mastery at this point in the game. Once you start getting like heroic geared, then I would see Beast Mastery being a little bit better. But in my opinion, survival is just better. And I'm right now, if you want to look, I'm at a 564 eye level. So that's technically my character right there. I got a normal weapon. I got my trinkets are pretty good. One flex, one normal. I still don't have my 4 sets, so I will be going over rotation and hitting the training dummy afterwards. So you know exactly what I got. You can put me in the armory, see what I'm rocking if you think I'm lying. But it's it's not too bad a gear. Not too bad at all. So for the first tier, level 15, I go ahead and go with the Crouching Tiger Hidden Chimera, and that's, for any hunter, I feel like it's the best thing to have. I mean, it reduces the cooldown of your disengage by 10 seconds, which in turn gives you a pretty decent heal, and at the same time, it reduces the cooldown of your Deterrence by 60 seconds, and Deterrence is a 2 charged ability now, and it lasts for 5 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown after, doing each of them. Now, it is an amazing ability. If you are a hunter, and there, especially on fights like a Mercius, that whole when every single blob is going to the center, if you time it just right, you will take no damage at all. You'll see deflect, 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 deflect. Like that. That's how powerful deterrence is. In a lot of fights, even in Malorok, where you have to stand in the bubble, the purple swirly, you can literally go in the purple swirly, hit deterrence, and take no damage. It is probably one of the most overpowered abilities, like the hunter class probably has. So I go with that. Second tier, I mean, it's pretty much whatever you want. It's not going to affect your DPS whatsoever. Me personally, we're always, every time when they ask me to do something, they always say stun it, to help with stuns and stuff like that. So I always go with intimidation, but really you can go with whatever you feel more comfortable or whatever fits your raid composition. Third tier at level 45, you will see on Icy Veins, you will see on sites like Noxic, that aspect of the Iron Hawk is the best talent to go through. And the reason why they say that is because they don't want you to waste a global cooldown to heal yourself, because that is a DPS loss. Well, I say it's a DPS loss if you're dead. So I personally take, and I have always been taking, Exhilaration, because to me, I always keep, or I try to keep, a constant watch on my health, especially in fights that, like an Immersius fight, of course, when it was challenging, now it's a joke. But even fights like Galacris, where there's just a ton of damage going out, I can't tell you how many times Exhilaration has saved my life. And of course, if you have a Warlock in the group, you're going to have a cookie, your health stone. But in turn of having a health stone with having Exhilaration, even using a regular, Master Healing Potion, it really helps you out to stay alive. I mean, Survival Hunter, survival, you need to stay alive. I mean, you can't DPS if you're dead. So for me personally, I've always felt Exhilaration has been the best in that tier. Spirit Bond is just a joke. I use it, honestly, the only time I ever use Spirit Bond is if I'm doing like an old raid, You know, like if I'm going to do ICC or if I'm going to do like something like that, then I will take Spirit Bond. But other than that, I will go with Exhilaration. Now, the level 60 talent tier, this is, okay, I'm just going to speak in blunt terms. Dire Beast for single target DPS. If you're going for AoE, it's Fervor all the way. Now, I have used Thrill of the Hunt plenty of times, and I love using it. But what I see in using Thrill of the Hunt is that you start to prioritize your arcane shot over your explosive shot. And it's not because it's like the thrill, no pun intended, but it's the thrill of seeing your arcane shot sparkle and you just want to get them over with. But in doing that, sometimes you're sacrificing your your focus because you kind of get a little too trigger happy. Now with Fervor for AoE, it instantly restores 50 focus to you and to your pet, an additional 50 focus over 10 seconds. It's 30-second cooldown. It's really effective. I've used it plenty of times, and it still makes you prioritize your explosive shot over your arcane shot. And as far as multi-shot goes, multi-shot is such a powerful ability in my opinion. I mean, they kind of did nerf it a couple of patches ago, but I mean, it's still very, very powerful. But then again, I'll go over all that later, probably in another video for AoE. But will be just single target and talents. And I personally go with Dire Beast if it's going to be a single target fight. Fights like Immersius, fights like Galacrus. I usually go with Fervor, the Iron Juggernaut fight. Just different things. But honestly, I'm not disqualifying Thrill of the Hunt. I would try it and see how it works for you personally. People say that it's a DPS loss over the other two, which is Dire Beast and Fervor. But I believe like fights like Dark Shaman, I have actually liked using Thrill of the Hunt on Dark Shaman because, well, now that we're three tanking it, it's a little bit easier. But I know before when we're just two tanking it, having the ads, and those ads needed to go down fast, having three multi shots that I can do back to back and still have plenty of my focus kind of left over was really nice. I noticed when I didn't have Thrill of the Hunt, I was always like focus starved and I would have to use my Cobra shot to get my focus back up. So, I mean, just play with it, see how you like it. But for the majority of the time, I would say Dire Beast for single target, Fervor for AoE. And then for the level 75 tier, personally, it's just Murder of Crows. There's honestly, if you really want to be like a finicky person and be like, well, is there going to be another option? Well, there is. So you'd use Blink Strikes if you're doing a complete AoE build. So you'd have Fervor, you'd have Blink Strikes, you'd have Barrage, but we'll go over that in a second. But if you're just looking at straight single target, best talent to use for single target, it's going to be Murder of Crows all the way. And last talent, which will be Glaive Toss. I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It's going to be it's a 15-second cooldown, 15 focus, and it does so much damage, especially if you line it up to where if there is a whole pack of ads personally in there, especially fights like Dark Shaman. I mean, man, like I personally rarely use Barrage. I love using Glaive Toss, and I've never seen my DPS suffer for using it. A lot of people say if you're going to be, using, in heavy AoE situations, I would say like Dark Shaman with all the globs, or fights like Galacrus with a bunch of ads. I still use Glaive Toss. I mean, it is such a powerful ability every 15 seconds, and especially if you line it up. And that's the thing that I feel like people don't do, is people just use Glaive Toss, and they will be on one part of a map, and they will be targeting their nearest target, and using Glaive Toss to hit that one target is going to be a DPS loss. But if you get the furthest target out and your Glaive Toss hits every single ad and then hits that one and then comes all the way back and hits them again, that is going to be, in my opinion, just as good, maybe even in my opinion, a little bit better than Barrage, because Barrage is going to be a 30-second cooldown and it will hit everything. It will hit everything, but sometimes you don't want to hit everything in the, in the raid. I mean, there are some moments that you don't, but me personally, I go with Glaive Toss. It's just a really powerful ability. I mean, that's just what I would say. If you look on Icy Veins, you look on Noxic again, to see a different opinion, they're going to tell you for single target Glaive Toss is going to be the best thing to use. Power Shot is a joke when it comes to PvE, so I'm not even talking about it. Glaive Toss. Now, I am going to go over some glyphs. Glyphs are pretty, they're not going to affect your DPS whatsoever, but there are some that I believe are mandatory for raiding. And the ones that I have, I'm not saying those ones are the end all be all of what you should have, but I believe that the ones that I have, other websites have said these are just the recommended, like we recommend these ones. There's not one that you need like mandatory that's going to help you with your rotation, or to make your DPS better. But I believe for survival purposes, these are really extraordinary glyphs. Now, for the first one, I'm going to go with Glyph of Liberation, and it's basically what I talked about earlier with disengage. When you disengage, you are healed for 5% of your total health. Now, my health right now is at 624 or 627,000. So 5% of that is a pretty good chunk of my health. Now, if I just do it right now, that's 34,000. 34,000 in a single heal. And then, oh, it's back. I can do it again. You see how effective that is? I mean, literally, if you just disengage on cooldown, that is pretty freaking pro. I mean, I've been playing a druid recently, and there's a talent on there that heals you for 5% of your health every 5 seconds. I mean, man, if you needed a heal that bad, you know what I mean, you could always just disengage. Bam, there you go. Free heal. You know what I mean? Not costing you anything. So, it doesn't cost you focus. All it costs you is just to leak back a little, leak backwards. Second one is going to be Glyph of Animal Bond. It's a no-brainer one to have, in my opinion. This is while your pet is active, all healing done to you, and your pet is increased by 10%. So not only are you helping yourself out, you're helping your healers out. So that way, you don't die. Like I said, you can't DPS if you're dead. So pretty self-explanatory glyph. Then we have Glyph of Deterrence. It increases the damage reduction granted by deterrence by 20%. That is utterly retarded. That is the best thing. I mean, like I said, I love deterrence so much as a hunter. It saves me to no end. And this glyph just makes the pie sweeter. If you really, really want an effective, like a really effective deterrence, this glyph is mandatory for you. I mean, having 2 charges, I mean, even on stuff that it doesn't get deflected, but the damage is still reduced by, 20%. It's just already, like right now, it reduces all damage taken by 50%. So add another 20% to that. No, it is not stacked to 70%, but it's roughly almost like a high 50, low 60%, which is utterly amazing. So I can't stress to you how powerful deterrence is, and I see so many hunters not using it, and it's such a no-brainer ability to use. I mean, it saves your life. You know what I mean? And I've seen it on LFR. I've seen it in raids where I'll whisper a hunter and be like, hey, use deterrence, on that fight. It's going to totally negate all the damage done to you. And I know for us as hunters, we can't heal ourselves, and that was my main complaint, before, was the fact that I have no way of healing myself. I mean, God, I used to have to get my first aid up all the way if I really needed a heal, and the healers were just too busy healing other people, and I was at 5% or at the brink of death. I had nothing to heal me. Now we have options. Now we have stuff like Exhilaration. We have stuff like the Glyph of Liberation, where I can disengage, and bam, a free heal. It's just really amazing what they've done to hunters and as far as our survivability. So, I mean, you really, as a hunter, to be an exceptional hunter is to stay alive. You have to be able to stay alive in as much situations as possible. Now, I mean, I am going to go over a couple of them. Marksman, we were doing over that one. Glyph of Camouflage. Your camouflage ability now provides stealth while moving, but your movement speed while camouflage is reduced by 50%. So basically, you get like a true stealth. In PvE, it's really not going to help you for anything. I mean, you're a hunter, you're going to be ranged anyway. There's no reason for you to be right in the face of battle. So, I mean, really, I would see it more as like a novelty thing, or even PvE, or I'm sorry, PvP. We went over that one. Distracting shot. Now distract your target to attack your pet instead of you. This could be, you see, this could be interesting in PvE situations, especially if you're attacking an ad and the tank does not have aggro or somewhat aggro on that ad and you start going at it. But me personally, I would just feign death. Feign death comes back every 20 seconds. I mean, unless you're just that, not arrogant, but unless you're that obnoxious to keep taking aggro away from the tank. But even then, if you feel like you are, you can just misdirect, and then bam, you're pretty much golden on that. So it's kind of lackluster in my opinion. Um, really, I really don't see. Man, I still need some glyphs, but no, I mean personally, like I don't see any real glyph that's going to help you and better in a raid situation than the glyphs I've recommended. Even if you go to, like I said, like Icy Veins or something like that to read more about glyphs, I mean, really, I just try to find the best glyphs for me to stay alive, and I believe I found those. On this next portion of the video, I'm going to go ahead and go over. Actually, before I do that, there is one thing I really want to mention as a hunter, and I find it very annoying, is the fact that what hunters can bring to the table. And what I mean by that is pets. Your pet. Me personally, like if I were to show you my pet stable, every pet that I bring has a buff for your raid. And I know for our raid composition, we're always lacking spell haste. We don't have a boomkin, we don't have a shadow priest. So for me as a hunter, and as a hunter in general, you have many things to bring, especially if you're beast mastery. You have a plethora of stuff that you can bring to the table. And I really love when hunters bring everything to the table. Like, you have 5 pets you can bring with you at all times. Bring 5 pets that are going to help a raid in a given situation. Sometimes I've been in raids where we didn't even have a mage. We had no druid and we had no crit. It's a rare circumstance, but that's why I have, let me dismiss my pet. But you have to have crit. There's so many different classes that require crit, and I believe to bring a pet, to help out in that situation, to where maybe sometimes you just bring too much of one class and you're lacking buffs. As a hunter, you can pretty much bring every buff in the world of Warcraft. So as a hunter, I would be prepared in that aspect. You know what I mean? Be prepared to have a crit pet. And the next pet that I like is my Raptor. My Raptor is my baby. I love my Raptor. He's cool. He's green. He's awesome. Named him after the famous hunter Rexar. So, and he brings a really awesome debuff too. We used to have a hunter, or I'm sorry, we used to have a warrior in our raid. And sometimes, I know with the whole colossal smash, especially with the glyph that you put on to where it applies a sunder armor, sometimes, it, if you're the only one keeping up with that, it gets kind of annoying to be like, oh, the sunder armor's falling off or whatever. That's why I have my Raptor pet to help with that, to make sure that those sunder armors stay on the main target at all times. So that's a really good pet to bring. Another pet that I love to bring, of course, is my lion. I'm Lion of Judah, so I have to have a lion. And this one, of course, brings mastery. A lot of classes bring mastery to the table, but I have been in certain rare occurrences to where there was no mastery buff to provide from anyone, and it gets really annoying when you're missing a buff. You have 7 out of 7 buffs, and you're missing that one buff that you personally need. I'm going to talk about one that really makes me upset. But yes, bring every single core buff that you can. And of course, I did talk about the Spore Bat. Spore Bat's going to bring your spell haste, so that's always good. But the main buff that we were always lacking, and thank God we found a Frost DK to come back to our raid, was attack speed. I hated we did not have attack speed in our raid. It was so annoying, and for many a times I would always be because I would always bring the spell haste, and I was like, you know what? Screw spell haste. I don't benefit from spell haste, but our healers benefited from spell haste. And if you can benefit a healer, I think benefiting healers is more beneficial in a raid than benefiting DPS, because DPS will be there. I mean, it's just really annoying when I had to do a 1.7 cast compared to a 1.5 cast. So now that we have, our DK in our group, I don't really have to bring our hyena anymore. But it's a good thing to have as survival. I know for Beast Mastery, a really good one is the Quillen, which basically gives you a battle res, which is utterly amazing. And there's other Beast Mastery pets that are very beneficial. But I would just say to bring something to the table that isn't the same. I know a lot of hunters that are very cosmetic and that are very like idiotic when it comes to bringing pets, and they bring like all the same pets, and it's like, why are you doing that? It makes no sense. If you're really going to be beneficial to a raid group and be like, man, this guy has everything, he's come fully prepared, it's a very good thing to come prepared to a raid. You want to be flasked, you want to be fed, you want to have potions, and you want to have buffs. And I speak for anyone who's always missing a buff. Like, I can guarantee you, if you were a warrior and you didn't have a crit buff, you would be upset. So I would say, as a hunter, it's very important to what pet you decide to bring. But yeah, I'm gonna go over the second part of this video, and we're gonna go into training dummy. Sorry, we're gonna go into training dummy type stuff, and basically go over simple rotation and burst and all those good stuff. So I'll see you when I see you.